what really took the cake, the cherry on top, the sprinkle on top, the chocolate fudge on top. I'm on a diet, y'all. I'm kind of hungry, so maybe that's what it is why I'm talking about the food. But my point is, what really was like the explosion of comments about people was her talking about a client who receives services from them. I won't go into detail because I do believe I don't want to upset HIPAA. And I'm not sure if this even is HIPAA, but I'm just going to tell you what was said and how it really, really was like, oh no. Like I said, I already knew in the first like 5 minutes I walked in the door I wasn't coming back, but I showed up for the plot. I showed up for the plot. I showed up to be a good person, and I showed up to really get a real impression and give her the benefit of the doubt. But this comment blew me out of the water. So we were talking. Well, she was talking. I was listening. Um, and there was a situation about some paperwork that had come in about a client. That's as much as I'll share about that. However, the paperwork said something about the client, and she called the client mentally ill and a basket case. And how are you a licensed therapist and you're calling a client who comes here to see you a basket case? I'm a person who has been in therapy for a lot of my life, and I've been with my particular therapist for going on, I think, 5 or 6 years. It would devastate me. Out of all the things this woman knows about me, has seen me overcome, go through in my 5 years, and first of all, she would never. But it would devastate me to know that I have confided my whole life, my soul to someone, and they're calling me a basket case behind my back. And it's not my right to contact the patient to let them know or anything, and I will never do that. But I hope that the patient gets some sense of discernment and will maybe go somewhere else. And I'm not here to put the woman on blast. I'm not going to dox her. You know, I fully, wholeheartedly believe in karma, and these things will return to you in whichever way they manifest. But I was disgusted. I was absolutely disgusted. And the other employee that was privy to the conversation, they handled themselves very well because they also that she was actually conversing with that employee, and that person handled themselves very well and did not engage with these comments because I think she thought she was being funny or comical. Um it's not funny to ever joke about someone's mental health status awareness at all. And you're a licensed mental health professional, especially. You, of all people, should know that. But if that doesn't make matters worse, or if it does, I don't even know. I was also privy to a conversation where she actually insulted a patient. And my thing is this: if you, I can't even put it into words. Why? Why would you mock, insult, degrade people? Especially people who come and keep your business running. I don't have words. And unfortunately, the client heard this. I don't know what happened outside of that. I'm not sure how it's going to be handled. Not my business. But extremely unappealing, extremely a turn off, um, unprofessional, unethical, uneverything. Boo. You know? Thumbs down. Thumbs down. But for real, like if someone talks trash about everybody else, I know you got something to say when I walk up out of here. I know you do. I know you do. I absolutely know you do. And I don't know. I don't know. During another one of the many 50,000 meetings I had yesterday, I had a meeting with another employee where she was attempting to delegate some of that employee's tasks to me. And meanwhile, I don't mind taking on extra things at a job as long as I've got a handle on my things. I'm always happy to help out. However, this employee was like, I don't need help. I don't need any help. I got everything. I'm under control. I want her to focus on her position and learning what she needs to learn for her job before we even consider delegating anything to anybody else. And she was very insistent on delegating some of his tasks to me. And I'm not sure if he felt personal offense to that or not. I won't speak for him, but I appreciated his response because he said that she needs to learn her own job first. And he told me that he's not going to delegate anything to me because he's not a supervisor, he's not over me, he's a coworker, equal playing fields. And I don't know how many of y'all been in a job where a coworker will say something like that to you, but it really was appreciated because I know people will take advantage of, especially a manager giving them free reins to tell other employees what to do. Abuse of power is real. Abuse of power is absolutely real. And if y'all have ever seen the Stanford prison experiment or learned about it, like when you give a person a little bit of authority and tell them they can do something, it's going to go far. So I appreciated that there was another human being that was level headed who understood what was going on and made sure to tell me in front of her that he would not be delegating his tasks to me and he can handle his own workload just fine. And he made it clear that if I needed help, he would help me. So that was great. Now, I want to talk about the interview process a little bit more because as I was sitting there through the day at the job, it was more so like a lot of talking. This particular person can talk quite a bit and say nothing. Like when you're trying to reach your 3,000, essay character requirement. It's just a lot of talking without saying much. So I was very confused because I feel like she made the role seem like it was a much more intense or complicated role than what it was. Because I didn't feel that it was very complicated and I didn't get the impression that it was complicated. And also being there during that process and seeing how things were being ran throughout the day, um, it wasn't very complicated. But before we get into that, I also have to make another comment because I forgot to mention this. Um, because it's important to what I was just talking about. So, with her talking badly about people, the craziest thing is like she made several phone calls right in front of my face that lasted 5 to 20 minutes long, and I had to sit there with her on the phone while it was on speaker and hear her talking to people. And she was very kind to them on the phone, very nice, and then got off the phone immediately and hung up and called that person an asshole. What? To me, telling me, oh, this person did this or like just stuff. And then one person was on the phone and they had their conversation. The person is someone who is supposed to be training me for this position. And then after they get off the phone, she's just like, I think I want you to replace her. Well, maybe saying no, like her words. Replacing her might be like too strong of a term, but like, I need someone I can call, and essentially calling this person undependable. And essentially, not even essentially, but saying the person is undependable in many words. I would say so many words, but in many words. And also telling me that this person wanted my particular position. This person has a different role, but I guess has a hand in the pot because it's a very disorganized company. So she has her hand in the pot on training me for part of the role as well. But she told me that she wanted me to learn this person's role, right? And then learn how they do everything because she needs someone who she can just call and tell them to do this, this, and that because she said it's not her job, her as the owner, it's not her job and she wants someone else essentially to do it. And I'm like, how awful for that person to be talked about this way, and that I was bought in to be someone's replacement in a sort of way. And I'm not interested in that. Like, I know that that happens a lot in jobs, but like your candidate, your new hire shouldn't be privy to you replacing someone with them. Like, it's just unprofessional in my opinion. Like, it happens all the time, but like someone who has a sense of common sense um would not say those things. They wouldn't say those things to the employee that they just hired and has been here for a few hours. So, I just wanted to mention that little tidbit there because I was just amazed. It was like watching a switch flip, or maybe she thought we were besties, and maybe I do give off that appearance or that vibe that like I'm your bestie. But like the thing is, I'm nice, I'm kind, but I also have sense, and I'm very ethical, and I believe in fairness and human compassion and understanding and love. Um, and all the above. A quote of mine is an open mind is a kind mind, and I'm very open minded, and I'm also very kind minded. And I don't believe in malicious intent. I don't participate in that. I don't subscribe to that. And while I'm not perfect. I've done some things in life that were not kind or whatever, and I think we all have. But like, I live, I learn, I become better. That's the goal. I don't know what this person is living by or subscribing to. Not my business. But my point is, how can you expect a person to want to work somewhere and this is how you're talking about people who currently work here? It's just an ick. It's such an ick. Okay. So I had to go back to provide some more context for you all on that because that was important. I feel like part of the story, part of the story. Okay, so let's talk about what I was saying, in the next part about the interview process. So again, I told you what the position was. Should essentially be a basic office job. Answer the phone, collect client information, get it to the right people, move on with your life. Go home, go to sleep, rinse, repeat. I truly, in my heart of hearts, wanted a mundane job. Easy, redundant even job. Because as an ultrasound tech, your job is never the same every single day. It is always something. You're in all kinds of crazy cases. You're finding all kinds of crazy things. I found a third testicle on a guy. Maybe TMI, sorry. I did though. On my last week of working in ultrasound, I did, a lot. Ovarian torsion, breast masses. I've seen so much, and I'm like, I want something normal. I don't want to go to the OR not anymore. But like, I just want calm for a minute, a moment of stillness, a moment, a moment. And instead, I felt like I was like, where's Ashton Kutcher? Am like where is he? Am I being pranked? Is it punked? I don't know, guys. Don't quote me. I'm so bad at like any reference. But I felt like I was being punked. It felt like there has to be I felt like I was in the office. Like I was just like, where's the cameras? All day. All day. Like, is there a reality show? Is there a prize? Do I get $100,000 at the end of my day? It felt that unreal. It felt insane. Insane. Okay, I've gone off on my little tangent. Let's talk about the hiring process. After being there for a few hours and seeing what the job consisted of and seeing everything, I realized that the hiring process was excessively complicated for I still don't know what reason. I still don't know what reason. But let's talk about the hiring process. I had to go through 3 rounds of interviews. 3 rounds of interviews for a position that pays less than $18 an hour. The hiring range, I think, was 16 to 20. Now, not to like say I'm above anything because I'm not above anything, but I want to be able to pay my bills. At my previous job, I made about 35 an hour. Right. So anything I'm taking obviously outside of that, I'm going to have to deal with probably a significant pay cut because my skills as an ultrasound tech are not transferable to these types of jobs. So I knew that I wanted to get paid at least $18 an hour. And considering the range was 16 to 20, shouldn't be a problem to pay me $18 an hour, you would think. So I had my first interview was a phone interview. She called me, she talked to me on the phone, and it was fine. It was cool. And I have had jobs do that, so no problem. And then after that, she set up a Zoom interview. And typically to me, I'm thinking that should be the only step because what? Like this job, it's such a like I don't know. I don't know. So we do the Zoom interview. We talk for a bit. It goes very well. I liked her vibe in the Zoom interview. I liked what she was telling me. I liked what the position consisted of. I liked the hours, or not. I'm not gonna say I liked the hours because she didn't give me any hours. She told me that the position could be like an 8 to 4, 9 to 5, option to possibly work remote on some days. Like that sounded appealing to me because I want, I would love to be remote. And I would honestly accept a considerably lower rate of pay in order to be remote, truly, because I don't think that working from home, like, there's nothing that can really, beat that. Honestly, if I could do ultrasound from home, boy, oh boy, somehow, some way, but not have patients, I would never leave. So it kind of felt like, oh, I don't know. So we had the Zoom interview, and I'm thinking like that should be it. I should get the job at this point, or either not get the job. So then a few days go by. She wants me to come in for an in-person interview the following week. And I was a little ticked off by that because I was just like, man, like how much interviewing do I need to do for an office job? Like, is this the CIA? I'm lost. So long story short, I get myself together the day that I had my car, break down and all that happens. I go for the in-person interview. It goes great. I got the job, as you know, blah, 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 blah. But just the process was ridiculous. Ridiculous. And I feel like if a job makes you jump through hoops for pennies, and mind you, she has no idea what I even went through the day of the interview in person to get there. So I jumped through considerable hoops to show up for this interview for pennies, essentially, for pennies, for a nearly $20 an hour pay cut. And again, I knew what I was getting myself into. Again, I am very cognizant that I was going to have to take a pay cut, and I was okay with that. But there's standards, and I had standards. So when she offered me the job, which in hindsight, I should have handled it differently. It's my fault, but I think I was just so excited that someone was giving me a chance to get out of ultrasound. And, I was excited to get the break that I felt was well deserved for myself, that I accepted a low ball of an offer. But she reached out to me and she's like, we love you. We want you to come onto the team, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, I would like to offer you $17.50 an hour. And I had asked for, I think, $18.50. And I was like, okay. And she was like, well, you just have so much to learn, but in 90 days, we can review this. And I'm like, and this is prior to her even never sending the offer letter. This is prior to her spelling my name wrong because we hadn't had any really communication prior to this. So I was like, you know what? Fine, I'll take the $17.50 and wait my 90 days, and hopefully she'll give me a raise to what I'm supposed to get, or perhaps I will have found another job that is willing to pay me off rip what I deserve. My fault. Should have said no. But you know what? You live, you learn, and sometimes you don't have to give people grace just because you feel it's the right thing to do. And that's also like my learning lesson for myself. I give a lot of grace all the time because deep down, y'all, I really am a good person. I am. Aside from that, in my interview process, I was told that there was full benefits and PTO. And then I never received a benefit package. On my first day, we never discussed any benefits, and I received vague responses about what the benefits were, if any. And so turns out I don't think there's any benefits for real. And like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, every job in the world, I feel like, has tells you what your benefits are at the time of your offer letter. Like, those types of things. So I'm just confused, y'all. I was just confused. And so additionally, as I'm sitting there talking to her, at the job, she tells me that I'm gonna have to wear many hats in the position. And if you've heard this term before, it's generally never a good thing, because it really is saying to someone like, we want you to essentially learn how to do everything under the sun, and we're still going to pay you what we pay you. And that's not what I signed up for. I signed up to only wear one hat, no gloves, no scarf. That's it. So it was a little frustrating to hear that she wanted me to learn even more on top of the position. Um, for $17.50 an hour. In this economy, in this time. The average 1-bedroom apartment in my city is over $1,000 a month. Over. The average house in my state is over $300,000. Did I expect this job to be long term for me? No, but for someone else out there who may unfortunately end up in this position, they deserve way more for what is expected of them. Way more. The jobs, a lot of jobs will take advantage of people who are capable and willing, and I've been in that spot many times where jobs have taken advantage of me because I'm capable and willing and hands-on, ready to jump at anything. And this go around, like, I'm just not that I feel like I'm like super worthy and all these things, but it was an insult to say that I have so much to learn when I don't. Like, the position is quite simple, and she just overcomplicated it, and I didn't have that much to learn, and I felt that it was a job that I could truly do with my eyes closed. And I don't mean no shade. I don't mean no shade. It's just the truth. I have had many office jobs before, and I'm a board certified medical professional. So I've had complicated jobs, and arguably, like, I just feel that if you want me to do more, I need to get paid more. Period. And judge me if you want, judge me if you will, but we have to believe in our worth. Like, self-worth is a number one requirement for yourself, because if you don't know your worth, first of all, you're always going to be undervalued. Second of all, you cannot allow people to keep treating you like you're disposable, or that you're nobody, or you're nothing, because you are that girl or that boy or that person. You are. So don't do it. And another red flag is she gave me the whole speech about us being family. I despise hearing that at jobs, because 9 times out of 10, we are not family. We're not treated like family. You don't love me like a family member. And most of the time, it justifies them treating you a certain way or talking to you a certain way because you're family. Not a speech I wanted to hear. It was just not for me. I wish this was the end of the video and like this is all that happened in my day, but like there was just so much more chaos. So, first and foremost, you know, the place is not that clean. And I understand a lot of people don't treat jobs as like a place where things should be clean or whatever, but it's not that clean. What was interesting to me was that my keyboard was missing letters. And I feel like when you have a new employee coming in, you should have a keyboard that has letters. Luckily for me, I don't need to look at the keyboard to type. I'm fortunate enough to not need to do that. But like someone who needs to look at the keyboard while they type will be struggling because half the keyboard is missing. No shade though, no shade, but just like this how I'm coming. This how you coming on my first day. Whatever. Um, the hand sanitizer that was on my desk was very gross. It was discolored. It had clumps. It had like a brown stain, like on the squeeze out part, like just things like that I would notice and I would replace if I were a employer. I wouldn't have someone come into a dirty desk that's dusty and things that don't work or I wouldn't, but some people are different. Um, but the funny thing is like, generosity is often not real. I don't really even know how to describe it. But people being generous sometimes, like they're not really truthfully being generous. It's just an offer of generosity, if that makes sense. So she was really insistent on buying me lunch. And I had brought my lunch, which was sitting out on the counter all day. But thank God, shout out to my little ice packs I bought off Amazon. My lunch stayed cold all day. But anyway, she was insistent on buying me lunch. I respectfully declined because I had my own lunch. I am on a diet and also I have IBS, so I'm very careful about what I'm eating. And so it doesn't the offer was very kind and I appreciated that, but I declined it. And she was like, no, 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 I wanted to do this specifically for you. Like, I want to buy you lunch. Like, what do you want? What would you eat? And I'm like, I brought my lunch. I'm okay. Thank you. I said, please feel free to treat the other employees who work here. Whatever you want to get them, it's fine. And she's like, well, I want to get you something. What would you want? I'll go wherever you want. And I'm like, I'm really okay. I'm fine. And so she was like, do you want a salad? Do you want fruit? And I'm just like, I'm fine. And she was very insistent on this. And so I agreed. I'll take some fruit. Wherever you go for them, if they've got fruit, just get me some fruit. It's fine. Like you could have got me a bottle of water. I just, not to be rude, but I just didn't want her to go out of my way. You don't have to spend the money on me, and you can still treat your other employees. Because if you were planning on buying the whole office lunch anyway, then I'm not going to be offended because I'm already telling you that I'm good. So there's no reason to worry. Anyway, she was like, I'll get you some fruit. And I'm like, okay, cool. Thank you. Like, I appreciate the gesture. So at that point, she steps out to go pick up lunch after we have another meeting. And, you know, she's gone for a good bit of time. She's gone for probably an hour, maybe longer. And so I'm sitting there, I'm reading through the documents that she gave me. Again, it's just telling me about the job and it's very straightforward. It's stuff that I have already done in my previous role as an ultrasound tech, but also in jobs before this. There was nothing new listed that I hadn't done before. Maybe new softwares to use, or different EHRs, but nothing that I had never done before. All things I could confidently do and honestly probably could do with my eyes closed. So I was also kind of like taken aback that she said that she couldn't pay me what I asked for originally because I had so much to learn, because I really didn't have much to learn. I think I could have learned if we had spent some actual time integrating me into the system and like getting me trained yesterday instead of talking all day about nothing. I would have been confidently doing the job today, to be quite honest with you, easily. I can answer a phone. I'm gonna show y'all my little phone voice. Hold on. Thank you for calling Hooked on Brooklyn. My name is Brooklyn. How may I help you? Thank you. Hi, Miss Brooklyn. Thank you so much for calling me back. I called you earlier just to see how you were doing. I wanted to follow up and see if we can get you scheduled for your next appointment. Awesome. All right, I've got you down for Thursday, February 13th at 11 p.m. We'll see you then. Have a great day. Bye. I have so much to learn. Okay. But for real, y'all, for real, for real. it was just like, I don't know. I don't know. I think some people think that their jobs are like way bigger or way more than they are. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm not going to say the job was irrelevant or that it was a stupid job. It wasn't. It's a good job, a necessary function to help the company run, for sure. But I don't believe you need a degree. I don't believe you need, you know, a professional. You don't need any kind of dedicated skill set to do this job. You could be in high school and do this job. And I am a multiple degree holding person. So, I feel like that should have been taken into consideration with my rate of pay, but it wasn't. And that's okay. But my whole point is it may be a tedious job. There may be a lot to do, but it is not a difficult job. That is my point I'm trying to make. And it's nothing that I don't think any average human being can't learn to do in a couple of days' time, unless you literally can't open a computer. There was multiple digs at my intelligence, I felt like, because she taught me things like how to check a mailbox, how to send a message on an internal messaging system, how to open mail, and things of the like, as if I have never had any professional experience in my life. It felt very belittling, to be quite honest. So, anyway, I'm starving at this point, so I eat a little bit of my snack out of my lunchbox, and I ask a fellow employee about lunches and things like that, and I was informed that there is no break room. And the unfortunate thing about small businesses is that they don't have to follow the same laws and regulations as bigger companies that have a certain amount of employees. But providing breaks and break rooms is typically a standard at most places, and at this place apparently is not a standard. I believe that everyone deserves a break at work, especially if you've been working hard for hours on end, and you should have some time to eat your lunch. You should, without distractions, without having to be in a meeting and such. So, on our little agenda she had given me for the day, there was a time slot for us to have a meeting at 1 p.m. And she walked back in the door with the lunch she bought the team in my fruit basket or fruit tray, fruit cup. I don't know. Malta, she gave me like a container this big of fruit, a variety of fruits. Thank you. Love some fruit. But she walks back in at 12:53 and gives everyone their lunch for the meeting at 1 p.m. So we're in the meeting and everyone is eating except for me and my coworker. And for me personally, I'm not comfortable with eating on camera. Like we were all on Zoom with each other because some of the people didn't come to the office. They worked from home. But those of us who were together in the office, we were all on our individual computers on Zoom. And the interesting part was, of course, everyone was eating their food who had food, but I wasn't comfortable with eating. I ate a little snack I had in my lunchbox just to hold over my hunger, but I had planned to eat the food I had brought from home after said meeting because I thought maybe I would get a lunch break after said meeting. I literally do I sound bad, guys? I'm sorry. I know my channel is all about positivity and loving yourself and don't accept anything. I don't know. Anyway, the interesting part about the meeting is that every person in the meeting I had met with already that day And everything that was said in the meeting, these people had already said to me and the owner of the company, and they all repeated all the same things, but now to each other. And I really feel like perhaps if we would have just had one meeting earlier in the day instead of like 6 individual ones, we could have just done that and had so much more other more productive time in the day. I could have been working or learning the programs or the software, not hearing insults about other employees and clients. I just did not understand that at all. But hey, I'm not going to tell anybody how to run their business. You do what works for you. And if that's how you want to run your business, run it, honey. Run it. So after this meeting ends and I learn and hear nothing new, I am ready to eat my lunch at my desk because there's no break room. She instead whisks me away to something else. Can't even remember at this point what it was or who it was or what it was about. She made multiple more phone calls that I had to sit with her on that were irrelevant to my job. It was about money, things that don't matter to me, right? And I don't know. And then she wanted me to meet with someone else, and that person had some kindness and was like, hey, I know we've been giving you a lot today. You want a minute to decompress? And I did. However, I knew that the owner wanted me to do other things, so I didn't really take any time to decompress. I didn't even bother cracking open my lunchbox to actually eat my food because there, in my opinion, was no point. There was no point. And I took her fruit cup home with me because I didn't even have an appetite anymore at this point. You know, when you're so hungry that your appetite just goes away? That's what happened. It just went away. And at this point, I just want to get through this day so I can go home. I just want to go home. And could I have just walked out? Sure. But I stayed again because I'm nice. I'm just really nice. I don't know. I'm just really nice. But I wasted my whole day. Whatever. But if I didn't stay, I wouldn't have been able to tell you guys this story. So you know what? We stayed for good cause. Okay. Anyway, I go into this meeting with this other person in person this time, not on Zoom. And she's very kind. She's very nice. And she's like, oh my God, I'm so happy you're here. And like, I felt so bad. But she's like, oh my God, I've been waiting for you to come. I'm so happy you're here. We're going to be like besties. And I'm like, smile and nod. I feel guilty, but at that point, the best thing for me to do is just act like everything's okay, act part of the plan, and then, go home, send a very respectful resignation letter, and just be done. That's what I'm thinking I should do because I just don't have any other way to go about it. I don't. So yeah, I'm sorry to her. If you ever see my video, I'm sorry to you. I didn't mean to get your hopes up, but like, I couldn't do it, girl. I couldn't do it. And nothing against you. You're very kind, very wonderful, very welcoming. But I could not do that. I could not. And a little side note about the lunch thing is fake generosity does not equal good leadership. If you're insistent on buying lunch, but you don't give your employees a proper break to eat said lunch, you are not a good manager at all. Providing lunch, it's different to have a lunch and learn. Different thing to have a luncheon, a different thing for it to be an informational lunch. I know those things happen, but this was not that. Like, I want to make that clear. This was not that. And I heard through the grapevine that this is a regular occurrence and that, it is implied that you can't take a real break because you are stuck at your desk. Like, you can't leave your desk. And if you want to take a proper break away from the building, you're going to have to go outside to your car. And, again, I don't even know if you really get a break for real, because she never told me how long they were, if we were entitled to one. She never gave me that information, which are all things that you would think you would get before you start a job, or at least on your first day of the job. Never given, never spoken of. And it never came across her mind naturally to even offer, like, hey, do you need a break? Never. Never, 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 never. Do you need a break? Do you need a moment? Do you need to eat your lunch? Never. Not one time. And I have not worked anywhere ever in life where that was not a given. And I've worked for small companies and small businesses before, and I still got a good hour lunch break. A good hour. I worked at a pest control company years ago, like 2018, maybe 2017. And I lived 5 minutes from there, and I had an hour-long lunch break. And baby, every day I go home, and I would be making my little quesadilla, my little grilled cheese, something every day. Or I'd have time to go to the grocery store on my break. I had so much time. It was a beautiful time, beautiful time. But you know, you can you can't, it is proven that giving your employees breaks will increase their productivity, because people staring at a screen all day and doing stuff all day, or sitting in on redundant meetings all day, like, people need a break. They really need a break. And I feel like it's important to be cognizant of that as a manager of any sort. But that's just my opinion. If you disagree, or you have a separate opinion, or if you manage a business and you don't think your employees deserve breaks, well, more power to you. More power to you. Okay. This one, you might lose your mind over. I lost my mind over it, because y'all, I don't even know where to start with this, but like, never in my mind would I ever say these things to a person I barely know, let alone my employee that I just hired on her first day. But some people will, and someone did. Someone did. Okay, so I'm in her office at some point again during the day, and she was having me meet with someone over Zoom, and they were talking about having to go to an upcoming conference, and they both were making jokes about how the last conference went, and with each other, like, they had the little inside joke. Well, she decided to let me in on the joke, and I wish she would have left me out. Because I don't know whether to call the police. I don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do, you know? But let me tell y'all what happened. Essentially, she had to take a flight prior to this prior conference that she went to. And on said flight, there was a lot going on, so she felt like she needed to relax. So she took some Ativan. And for those that don't know about Ativan, it's an anti-anxiety medication. It relaxes you, calms you down, kind of like Xanax, right? She told me that her normal dose is like half a tablet, and she took like 4 or 5 or something, some crazy number, obviously more than probably she should have, because she needed to calm her nerves on this flight. But that's not really the issue. The issue is that she said out of her own mouth that after she got off the flight, she was still, what she says, drugged, and she decided to rent a car and drive herself and her coworker in said car to the conference or wherever they had to go, while under the influence from this medication. And she said that essentially she was blacked out, and she doesn't remember driving, doesn't remember getting in the car, doesn't remember renting the car, doesn't remember anything about acquiring the vehicle of any sort, or driving it, or any of that. And I think that is such a blatant disregard for the humans in the car with you, and on the street around you, and in general. And a huge, humongous, big, flashing, giant, large red flag as a licensed mental health professional. I'm really good at fake laughing. I'm a really good, like, a wow. I love to fake laugh. I love corporate me, babe. You ain't seen nothing yet. All right, y'all. So that concludes part 2 of this video. The third part should be coming out soon if it's not already. So go ahead and check that out and let's finish up the rest of this story. I'll see y'all over there.